It's all about the economy, stupid. It's a well-known British phrase. It dominates the papers today. Elena's with us here on set. It really is economy, 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 isn't it?
It is. I think it was Bill Clinton who said that, actually, rather than anyone British.
Oh, was it?
But irrelevantly. Let's have a look first at the front page of Libération. Their headline is "The Sick Banks of Greece," and they've got this rather eye-catching front page of the euro drowning. Inside, they quite attack what they call kamikaze thinkers, who say that the only way to get out of this is for Greece to default. That's becoming quite a common point of view among Anglophone thinkers, at least in the English-speaking world. But the French papers have really still got one point of view on this. There must be solidarity with Greece. We must keep bailing them out. And that's what they repeat in their editorial. Inside, they do take a look at what's going on inside some of those desperate French banks. They go into Société Générale and interview some of their rather lower-level workers, not the ones getting the multi-million euro bonuses, just to ask how it feels to be working in a company whose collapsing share price is on the front page of most of the other newspapers. And as you might expect, morale among them isn't particularly good. They say that after rogue trader Jérôme Kerviel, the subprimes crisis, the jobs that had been cut at Société Générale, and now their tumbling shares and the amount of money they're losing being on all the front pages, there's not very good morale among the cashiers in Société Générale.
Not surprisingly, I suppose. Other papers feeling a little bit less sorry for bankers, aren't they?
Yes. Let's have a look at the front page of La Croix. They've got civic banking, on their front page, this editorial here. Now, they're calling on bankers to change the way that they work. They say that something has to be done about the casino banking, runaway speculation and bonuses. They say 3 years on from the beginning of this financial crisis, nothing has changed about the way that bankers operate. And they also call on them to be regulated more. They're quite full of praise for the British plan that was announced yesterday to break banks up into a commercial and retail arm. There's quite a lot of praise, actually, for that British move all around the French press. If we also have a look at Le Monde, they call it a brave reform that will change the face of British banking, saying that it actually might be also proof that coalition government is a good thing, because they say it's not something the Tory party would necessarily have passed on their own, but it's got cross-party support. And but they do also say it's not necessarily enough to impose new rules. You also have to actually get the banks to follow them, and there's no guarantee that the new regulator in Britain will actually be able to stand up to some of the world's biggest banks. They've got a cartoon in there showing the Bank of England as a kind of tiny, cowering little piggy bank looking up at the big bad wolf of international finance, which is asking, regulate? What's regulate? So the paper says, the reform isn't going to be enough. They're not targeting the worst parts of banking behaviour, like hedge funds.
Well put, well put. What about Parisian? They've actually kind of calculated the cost of a Greek default.
Yes, and according to them, it would, to France alone, be 40 billion euros. They are talking, of course, not about money that would be lost by the French state, but that which would be lost by French banks, which are, of course, deeply involved in Greek debt. And they say if they would have to give up all that money for lost, it could lead French banks to collapse, which, of course, is why the markets, rather, are so worried at the moment about the capitalisation of France's biggest banks. It's because they are owed so much money by these Greek banks that they may never realistically get back.
And finally, something completely different. Libération, you pulled this out. It's looking at neuroscientists trying to actually digitise the human brain.
Yes, they've been to a brain institute at the Swiss University of Lausanne, which they call the CERN Laboratory of Neuroscience. They're calling it the new frontier, saying that it's a scientific challenge to match putting a man on the moon. And what they're trying to do is digitise the whole human brain, which unfortunately is so complex that just to represent one neuron, you need the computing power of one ordinary PC. And there's 10,000 neurons in the brain. So to create a computer big enough that you could actually reproduce the whole human brain will take, they think, until 2023. But they're convinced that when they do, they'll be able to find a cure to diseases like Alzheimer's. But this could also raise ethical questions, the paper says, because if you could manipulate the brain to cure Alzheimer's, could you perhaps even make children more intelligent?
You'd only need a small one for mine, enormous one for Elena's though. All right, Elena, thanks very much. Elena here with the papers here on France 24.